Welcome to Genius or Junk with me, your host, Jim Fowler, where we invite a guest to debate whether an item is doomed to oblivion or it belongs in the Genius Vault. Only the most deserving innovations will stand the test of time. But do you agree with their choices? In today's episode, a flaming piece of American engineering and an automotive innovation that should be given the boot. These are the choices of Kevin Berry from Code Automotive, who also has a successful career in motorsport. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. So why don't you introduce yourself before we get on to some of the choices for Genius or Junk?
Okay, so I'm Kevin Berry. I am a mechanical engineer working for too long in the automotive and motorsport world. Most of my experience has been working within race engineering, primarily around touring cars. So I've worked for a long time as design and race engineer through to technical director within touring car teams since 1999 right through to the current day. Alongside that, we do a lot of design projects as well. So as well as engineering the cars at the track, also designing race cars from scratch, right through to working on automotive projects and low volume vehicle engineering projects.
Fantastic. And on the motorsport front, you've been rather successful over the years, especially with the British Touring Car Championship. How many championship titles might have been part of?
I don't know. It depends on the ego. We can probably claim... probably won the British Touring Car Championship as engineer twice. Mm-hmm. As part of a team, probably about 6 times the Drivers' Championship. Probably about 7 or 8 times as a team's championship. I need to get the stats together on that, don't I?
But also, I was reading last night, you were also 2018 Engineer of the Year.
Yes, well, that sort of comes for free if your car wins the British Touring Car Championship. These days, you get the prize of Engineer of the Year. So yes,
do you have to butter people up to get them to vote for you, or was it just?
Well, it kind of comes with the title. You just need a good driver and a bit of luck, I think.
So, and who's well, this might be a little bit controversial, but who would you say has been one of the best drivers you've sort of partnered with?
Well, in the British Touring Car Championship, I worked a long time with Colin Turkington. We won the British Championship twice with him in 2014 and 2018. And yeah, really enjoyed my time working with him. But along the way, I've worked also with a lot of other drivers, Ivan Muller and Fabrizio Giovanardi, and I'm getting too old because there's too many of them. So yeah.
Fantastic. And I know that you've got quite a few tales that you could tell off camera, which from the motorsport world, I always think it's very professional, but there's some things that go on that's a bit of skullduggery and the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I keep saying I'm going to get a normal job one day, but I've been doing this for 40 years now. I think the team environment, I still quite enjoy working in the team environment where there's a lot of pressure and you sort of work hard and play hard. And in fact, I was speaking to someone just last week with another team with a military background, and we were talking about how actually quite a lot of military people enjoy working within race teams because they enjoy and are familiar with that sort of team camaraderie, get things done environment. So yeah, it's an interesting place to work.
And give us, well, if you're allowed to, or I don't know if there's NDAs and stuff, but can you give us an idea of the sort of projects you work on, off the track with Code Automotive?
Yeah, we've done a range of things. A lot of it is with race teams. So we dealt with all the design on the BMW, BTCC BMW for the 2018 and 2019 championships. I mean, I've worked from the design of the BMW right back to 2013, so I was responsible for the design of the car as well as the engineering. Worked with some other interesting companies, a really interesting suspension company, R53 Engineering, based up in Leamington Spa, doing some cool stuff with dampers and suspension at the moment, and do quite a lot of work with them on R&D, design and testing. So right through to other companies, small niche vehicle companies making special vehicles both for on and off highway.
Right, let's get on to your first item then, Kev. So it's going to hopefully go in the Genius Vault if we decide it's worthy. Now, I don't think this needs much of an introduction as it's so much part of Americana and culture. I think, was it John Wayne famously would only use these in his movies. I think Frank Sinatra wants to be buried with one. Right. So can you introduce what your Genius item is?
Right, well, my Genius item is the humble Zippo lighter.
Known for its satisfying click, the Zippo lighter is a pocket-sized piece of American history. First produced in 1933 in Bradford, Pennsylvania, the reusable metal lighter was designed to be windproof, durable, and easy to flip open. It quickly became a favourite among soldiers in World War II and later, a symbol of cool in pop culture.
I didn't know I was quite into Zippo lighters until you asked me to come and do this, and I was thinking, what do I think is genius? And the Zippo lighter popped into head. Actually, I used this same example 30 years ago when I went to a job interview with Brompton Bikes, and coming to the interview, they asked me to bring a piece of engineering or something that I thought was a good design, and I was sort of probably desperate and under pressure and didn't have a lot of time, so I grabbed a Zippo lighter and started talking about it. And then when you asked me, I thought, actually, it's a cool thing, and I ran upstairs and found I've got half a dozen of them stashed in a box that I've had up there for 30 years. So I obviously think they're quite cool.
Or you've got a massive smoking habit.
Well, that's probably where it started in the old days. Yeah. So, the Zippo lighter. Why?
So, yeah. Why? What about the Zippo? Why do you think it's so genius?
I just think it's a really great design. It's for me, when I'm thinking about design, the first thing is thinking about the function, but also thinking about the form. And I like things that are designed simply but cleverly and work really well. And the Zippo lighter looks kind of simple. It's just this little rectangular thing. But when you take it apart and look at it, the engineering is just quite simple and quite clever. And it's quite an old design. I like it because it's easy to manufacture. I guess these days it would be relatively expensive compared to injection molded plastics and things like that. And so...
And you've even got one.
I've got one.
That's good, because one of the previous guests' genius item was an F10 intercooler truck. So we can get that in here.
So, I guess in the first instance, what I like is that it just looks nice. It's a really nice form. I could probably talk about aspect ratios, but I don't know.
I don't know you're arty.
No, well, I don't know that I am. So it looks nice. It feels nice.
It's the click, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the click.
It's the click. We'll talk about the engineering in a minute, but the first thing is the emotional connection. It's all sensory. It looks nice, it feels nice, and then it sounds nice. There's that click, and then when you close it, that little click there.
Now, do you know seeing as you're the engineer, it's your item. I'm going to put you under pressure. Do you know what causes that click?
What causes that click? Oh, I'm under pressure now. Well, it's a vibration, isn't it? As one bit of metal hits the other.
I think it's something to do with, extensive notes.
Oh, yeah.
It's the cam.
Yes, no.
The cam. It's the toggling cam. That's it. It's
I
the
was going to
toggling
talk about
cam.
that.
Oh, go on. Yeah. Okay, well, so Kev, why the click?
Why the click? Well, that's part of the really clever design. There's this little cam in here. And again, it all looks really simple, but someone's put a lot of effort into designing this little cam, which sits on top of a spring, so that when you close it, it resists the effort enough and then goes over center, and you get that nice click as the cam and the spring close it. And the same when you open it, the cam pushes it and makes that nice little click.
Also, it's the smell. Because it's just when you click open, it's that smell.
Well, that's what I'm saying, emotionally. So we've got the touch, we've got the look, we've got the sound, and then there's a smell, that smell of lighter fluid. In fact, I was filling it up last night and my wife was going, "Oh, that smells disgusting. It's giving me a headache." But for me, that takes me right back to 30 years ago when I used the Zippo lighter, probably lighting cigarettes that I shouldn't have been doing. But I get that smell. And then when you light it, the smell's sort of different again. And so as a design thing, I think it's cool because it sort of like appeals to all the senses. There's something for all the senses.
And I suppose also it's that smell, because that's it's sort of petrol based, isn't it? Yeah. The fuel or something. It's kind of special. I don't think you can just chuck in anything.
It is a special fuel, and I think that's what smells nice. I don't really know what the ingredients are.
Do you reckon that's where your passion and motorsport career started, when you smelt that?
Maybe that's where it comes from. But also, I mean, that's another great thing about the design, actually, is that you need special fluid. But if you're a US soldier in the jungles of Vietnam and you need a smoke, you can just stick a bit of petrol in from a Willys Jeep and it will still work. So it's sort of multi-purpose. It's flexible.
And I believe, was it World War II? They were just made just for GIs, weren't they?
That's what I understand. Yeah. They were making them for the public, but during the war, I believe the Zippo company did a deal with someone in the US government that they were only sold to for military use through all the military shops around the world or whatever. And it became, sort of an icon that you had to have.
And supposedly Tom Hanks is an avid Zippo lighter or something.
I've read that. Tom Hanks is a big collector. Like I said, Frank Sinatra, I think, wanted to be buried with 2 bottles of Jack Daniels, a packet of Lucky Strikes, and his Zippo lighter. And so it's gone from a sort of a military Vietnam icon through to a sort of a Hollywood icon. So yeah, and I think it's just, yeah, it's cool design. I was looking at it last night, I think actually, you know, I don't know, I'm not very good on sort of aesthetic design, but it almost, when you think about an iPhone, you know, this simple slab with rounded edges, it's just an attractive shape. And then it also becomes a canvas. A lot of them are decorated, so actually it's, you know, it's a sort of a neat shape that I can put a picture on the side of it. And so yeah, I think from a style and design point of view, it's really cool. It appeals to all the senses. And then from an engineering point of view, I like it because it's just sort of really simple.
It hasn't changed, has it? In, was it 93 years or something?
Something like, I think 1932.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was designed, and yeah, it hasn't changed. It's exactly the same now. It's really simple. There's just, these are sort of made from brass and just pressed, deep drawn or pressed or whatever. And there's a little hinge that holds it together. It's just two really simple bits that make this little slab. And then what I like when I get into my sort of engineering design is the whole inside bit. Again, it's really simple. It all holds together. There's one sheet of steel which forms this bit, and that's okay. It's not groundbreaking.
For those who are listening, that's the what they call it, the inner.
The inner bit, yes, the inner bit. But this one bit holds everything together. So you've got this one bit of metal that makes the flame guard here that stops it getting blown out in the wind. It also becomes the bracket that holds the little striker wheel in. It also becomes the bracket that holds this little cam and the spring. So everything's off one piece of steel. One of my pet hates in design, particularly in race car design, is when there's unnecessary things. I've got a thing that I hate, a bracket on a bracket. You see it on a race car where there's a bracket holding the suspension on, and then someone bolts a bracket onto that to hold a sensor. It drives me nuts. Why can't it all be integrated into one thing to save weight and money? And so from that point of view, it's really, really cool. So it's one little bit of sheet metal, holds everything together. And then there's the wick inside and a bit of cotton that holds the fluid, and you've got space for a spare little flint in there. And so, yeah, from an engineering point of view, it's really cool. And I think the brief when it was designed was that it had to be able to operate with one hand. It had to be windproof, and it had to be sort of guaranteed for life. And so I just think it's really, really cool.
To be fair, I mean, well, it has to be cool because I think they're at, was it 500? No, I think it was 500 million, but I think they might have hit 600 million units.
Yeah, last time I sort of looked at it, I think it's 500 million. I did some quick counts. That's something like one for every 1,500 people in the world or something like that.
So that means, so everybody's got
might be wrong.
Massive smoking habit around the world then.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah. But no, they are cool. I mean, I've never smoked, allegedly. But yeah, it's one of these things. And also, can you do the trick? You know, the flick trick on your strike. Don't do it. You'll probably set yourself on fire. Was it the one strike?
We were teaching the kids last night. I need to do it on my jeans, don't I?
Hang on.
We do it.
Oh,
yeah. And then.
There you go. Just for again for people who are listening, that he did manage to do the one strike, which is what do you call it? It's like the flick
something like that. I don't know.
You sort of like, you sort of like flick it open. That's it. It's flick it open and then strike the wheel in one fluid moment. Amazing. I'm astounded that even at your age, Kev, you have the dexterity to.
Yeah, one of the things I probably shouldn't have taught my kids to do last night. There you go.
It was now they're all smoking, so you can't. Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing is, it's like, this is another little cool thing. It's sort of like this monolithic shape. And I looked this up. Monolith is actually meant to be pointy. But then I looked at it, and the meaning of a monolith is that it stands for eternity and immortality, which is sort of what it is. You know, it's eternal and immortal. Well, unless you're using it to light cigarettes, I guess. But yeah, quite cool.
Oh, I didn't think we'd get that deep.
There you go.
On a Zippo. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Well, I think I think the Zippo lighter has to go in the Genius Vault because future generations obviously need to set fire to things.
Exactly. You always need to light something.
And smell nice stuff. And also, it's that thing, once you get one when you're a teenager, you think you've become like mature.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then you don't know what to do with it apart from set fire to stuff.
That's been in my bedroom drawer for 30 years now, and I just dug it out last night.
Never been used, honest. Yeah, so the Zippo lighter definitely going into the Genius Vault for future generations. Let's now move on to your innovation that you want to be put on the junk pile of history. Now, this could be controversial, seeing as I think some people would see this as a godsend, especially when their arms are full of shopping and God knows what. And this is a very specific gripe you have. So, Kev, what do you want to see consigned to oblivion?
You see, now you've said that, it makes me think that maybe this is just me being a grumpy old man. But my thing, when you asked me about this, I was thinking, what is there? And I was racking my brains, and I just thought the thing that annoys me every time I pick up a rental car is the electric powered tailgate or boot, where this is where you go to open the boot and you push a button and it comes up on its own with an electric motor.
The automatic boot, also known as the power liftgate or trunk, first rolled onto the automotive scene in the early 2000s. But the roots of this convenient technology date back to concept cars of the 1950s. Fast forward a few decades, and by the early 2000s, automatic boots powered by small electric motors and sensors started to become a notable automotive feature. What started as a luxury perk is now a standard feature in many cars, proving once again that laziness drives innovation in the best way possible.
Why?
Well, why does it annoy me?
Yeah. Isn't this innovation? I mean, you're an engineer. This should be engineer. This should be
like
innovation.
But I might talk myself out of this, but I can see why some people might want it.
And also, the other elephant in the room I think we need to kind of address is, because especially if there's any Americans listening to this, they'll be going, what the hell's a boot? Is it a boot, a trunk, a tailgate? I mean, when I was looking at it, there was so many different things. I mean, the history of the tailgate or the automatic tailgate is pretty, I mean, are we talking about every single type of...
Well, yeah, I also did a bit of agree. And there's been some really great evolution on the trunk or the boot. I think it was...
tailgate.
The tailgate. Mercedes on the E-Class in the 80s. Originally, the boot was just a little flap that popped up, and they changed the design so it curved all the way down to the bumper, so you didn't have to lift things. And that's cool. Good innovation. But at no time did I ask for it to open on its own. For me, it just kind of really annoys me. And it feels like engineering evolution for the sake of evolution rather than for the sake of need. Every time I think, well, did I ever really find it difficult to open the boot and close it? And I didn't. And I get this car. So what happens? I pick up the rental car and you go out and you get the seat straight, and then I go to put my stuff in the boot, and this is what happens. So I immediately push the button and lift the boot, and now it gets upset at me because it wants to open the boot electrically, and I've just tried to do it myself. So it all stops and nothing happens and the boot doesn't open. So then I've got to push the button and it closes down again. And then I've got to push it and wait patiently, not messing around. And it opens like in this sort of glacially slow way. And then I put my bags in, and then I try to close it again, forgetting it's electric, and it gets halfway down and stops because it's upset that I've tried taking its job away. So then I've got to push the button and it opens again. And then I push the button and it closes. And then I jump in the car and adjust the mirrors, I go to drive off, and then there's a little light on the dash saying, oh, the boot's open, you didn't close it properly. So I've got to get out and go all the way around the back and find that my bag was just slightly encroaching on the boot, and it decided it couldn't shut, it wasn't safe. So I've got to push the button and wait for it to open and then move all my bags, and then I probably pull it down, and then it jams again. So I've got to push the button until it's ready, and then eventually it closes and we can drive off. And I think, how is that easier than just pushing the button, letting it pop up and slamming it down again? And it just feels like an evolution I don't need. And for me, it just seems to slow everything down. Maybe I'm quite impatient. And I think, when did I ever find opening a boot difficult? And I don't think it did. So yeah, that's it. It just annoys me. And I can see the point of it. Now, if you've maybe got your hands full, you still got to push the button, although I'll come back to that. So I can see the point of it, and maybe some people find it hard to open, although all the cars I've have these little gas struts and it just pops up on its own. And then you just slam it back down. And the only thing I can see is, okay, it does save me from getting dirty fingers if the car's dirty. But I think with my normal experience, I could put some gloves on, open the boot, close the boot, and take the gloves off quicker than the electric boot works for me. So I think you could maybe supply cars with a pair of gloves or even a packet of wet wipes. And for me, that would be more improvement than the automatic boot.
What? So having wet wipes and gloves is more of an elegant solution than just pressing a button or a little key fob?
I don't know if it's an elegant solution, but for me, it's a more successful solution. There's been lots of boot evolution. Like, I had a quick look at it, and I think it was the 1950s they invented the trigger latch, where you just pulled one button and it opened. And I think in about 1952, I think Buick put little counterweights, so when you opened it, it would pop up on its own. And what's interesting, what I found out I think it was 1958, an American car company, I don't remember the name, designed this concept car with an electric boot that opened. And what's interesting is it didn't really catch on until recently, where someone's dragged it out of the vault and started reusing it. So that tells you something. And I can see the point of it. If you maybe you're short and you can't reach too high, or maybe if you've got disabilities, like I said, that's really an advantage. But for me, other than not getting grubby fingers, it just slows everything down.
Well, I pulled out of the research out of the old interweb last night from a manufacturer, the pluses. Also, I think the car you refer to is the Packard Predictor.
That's the one.
I think.
Who's ever heard of the Packard Predictor?
I know, but also supposedly there was just afterwards, also in the 50s, there were a few cars came out of Cadillac or something, had some bit like that.
I believe so, yeah.
But obviously people didn't need them. So I'm going to put this to you, the pluses, and you have to rebuff these.
Right.
So, effortless operation. So it can open and close the hatch easily without having to physically lift or lower it.
Yeah, okay. Well, now, even without a powered boot, I don't have to use any effort to open it because I just push the button and the little gas struts lift it up. I do have to use some effort to pull it down, but it's hardly killing me. And it saves paying to go to the gym.
Okay, and convenience in all weather conditions. Through rain or snow, extreme heat or cold, or in moments when your hands are full. A power lift gate, that's what they're calling it here, gives you quick, easy access to your vehicle's cargo area.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Then actually, would you say quick? It's not quick though, is it?
Well, no, that's the bit I get most annoyance with. If it was quick, I probably wouldn't be so angry. But they aren't quick. It's
Especially when you want to close them.
waiting for paint to dry.
Yeah, okay, I'm not reading that.
And yeah, the weather thing, I can see that. Yeah, that's the one thing I'll give them. Okay, if it's wet or dirty, it just stops me getting grubby fingers. But there are wet wipes, and I reckon that would be quicker.
Okay, what about enhanced safety? So systems with obstacle detection and memory height customization help reduce risk of accidents that could cause damage to your vehicle or cargo, or even injury. I mean, I'm thinking of the Tesla truck.
Yeah,
that's a classic example.
Well, yeah, I can see. Yeah, I see that, but that's sort of the nanny state thing that makes the thing so useless anyway. And it comes down, and there's a little bit of my soft bag poking out in its way, and so it won't shut. So I've then got to get out of the car and open it again and move the bag. Whereas what I would have done in the past is grab the boot and slammed it and squashed the bag shut.
Yeah, but then you have when you're driving down the road and you can hear like a bang, 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 and you don't know what it is, and you realise it's a strap whacking.
So in a nanny state way, I can see the safety aspect that it's not going to damage my bag when I close it, and it's not going to damage my fingers because they're in the way. But looking after my fingers is my problem, and I want to slam the boot on my bag, then I'm going to do it because that'll save my time. That's my biggest problem. Is it's a little overcautious, and it'll just pop back open at a wisp of anything touching it.
Well, also, I don't know whether I'm getting the vibes that this is more a case of, it's over-engineering, sort of engineering going mad, but also you get onto sort of, whether do you need it? So I've got a few other car features which I would like to put to you. I think that you would probably, these could go on the junk pile of history as well. What about lane keep assist?
Oh, now.
I had that on a truck and it drove me mental because I didn't know how to turn it off. And on country roads, it just drove me mental.
See, it's great, isn't it?
Do we need to explain what lane...
If you like, yeah.
All right. What is lane keep assist?
Lane keep assist is a strategy on the car now that it obviously can read where the white lines are. And if you drift across the white line without using the indicator, it thinks that maybe you're veering off the road accidentally. And it probably gives a little alarm, and the steering wheel just automatically steers itself back into the lane. The way I look at it is if I'm changing lanes without using the indicator, I get halfway out and it suddenly grabs the steering wheel out of my hands and we verge back across the road, and it drives me nuts. Tricky one, because I can see the safety side of it. When I go to sleep on the motorway and we drift across the lanes, it's going to do something. And I think some of the cars now will actually come to the stop on the hard shoulder. And I kind of get that. But that's another thing that actually causes more danger than safety for me. Because again, I pick up a rental car. We're driving around Rome in rush hour, trying to be Italian to get somewhere, because if you don't, you're stuffed. And I quickly want to change lanes and it grabs the steering wheel out of my hand. And so now, rather than actually concentrating on driving in the chaos of Rome, I'm driving along one-handed, looking at the controls, trying to work out how to switch off the automatic lane assist. So yeah, 50-50 on that.
Okay, well, let's go for another one. Gesture controls.
No.
What, you like them or you want them gone?
No, can't be bothered with it.
Okay.
I mean, I actually thought about the touchscreen monitor as another thing that I don't like, but so gestures is a step too far.
Well, this one, okay. Voice recognition.
Yeah, voice recognition, great. I love it. My problem is that quite often it's voice non-recognition. Even, I quite love it. Push the button, shout, play this on Amazon, and actually what happens is something completely different. Or I spend 10 minutes driving the road shouting at the car, trying to get it to recognise what I want. So voice recognition, great, but when it's not recognition, annoying.
Is it what? So you have to sort of recognise a Devon accent.
Yeah, you've got to find myself speaking in really funny ways. And my wife's name is Ilse, and if I say call Ilse, it's like no chance. I have to tell it to call Ilse.
And now the final one on here, which I think sums up your problem with these new kind of features on cars, which are just unnecessary, is touchscreen air vent controls. Now I saw a thing which I thought was brilliant. It was I can't remember who. I would give credit to the whoever put it on the internet, but there was a picture of the old style air vents. So it had hot, cold, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 knobs. And they said that is literally perfection. Why change it? So where do you stand on old style or the touch? I mean, I guess this is a bit like gesture controls, but touch screen air vent controls.
Yeah, absolutely against touchscreen controls in cars. And that's sort of, I think, part of the unnecessary evolution that my powered trunk or boot thing comes under. And I think within cars, I mean, everything is now touchscreen, or it's all like in one display and everything's touchscreen. And it seems kind of cool and funky, but actually the biggest driver for that is cost and reliability. It's a lot cheaper to put one display in the car with all the controls on it rather than lots of mechanical switches that are expensive to make and may have reliability issues. So it's really a cost thing that just makes your car cheap, and it looks cool, but it's a pain in the butt. And yeah, I'm very against touchscreen stuff. And actually, I'm noticing some car makers now, I think, is it Peugeot, are actually evolving back to having some mechanical switches underneath the touchscreen control. So I don't think I'm alone.
Okay, well, so I'm going to sort of wrap this part up then, I'm going to give you can have one of those. You can either have your automatic tailgate boot lift gate thing, or you can take one of these, which so the thing is we can't have all of them in the junk, but you can have one of them in the junk pile history.
It is with the disclaimer that you could order it as a special option. Let's say I'm still putting the automatic powered tailgate into the junk bin.
While automatic tailgates or boots or whatever we're referring to them are going to be crushed and put in the junk pile of history, I think the Zippo lighter definitely has got to go into the Genius Vault as it's such a bastion of American culture. So many thanks for joining me on today's podcast, Kev, and it's a goodbye from me, and catch up with us soon for more Genius or Junk. So, another 2 innovations are consigned to their fate. But do you agree? Genius or Junk is an Oski Films production, created by James Fowler and Jamie Loudon. Visit our website, www.oskifilms.co.uk, to find out how we can help you with all your video and podcasting needs.